Their defense is a joke.
What it really comes down to is I would love to have either of them.
They don't have a prayer in their secondary. They have nothing.
So you're saying just don't draft Blunt?
I'm saying don't draft Blunt.
He was unbelievably efficient last year.
You know that they use their running backs in the passing game a ton.
I'm drafting him tonight.
That's Team Huevos. Huevos gigantes.
Hey everyone, welcome into the FantasyPros Football Podcast. I'm Bobby Sylvester, joined as always by Mike Tagliere. Congratulations on making it to the semifinals in your fantasy football league, unless you're in one of those weird ones that does the championship in week 17. We're here to talk starter sit today, and we've got your teams in mind. If you've made it this far, you probably don't need to pick off the scraps at like RB 35. We're going to be a little bit lower on our aim this week, and we've got a great guest to talk to you guys. It's Mike Florio, fantasy football writer at NFL Fantasy, Fantrax, fantasy research at NFL Network, and he won the he was a Football Writer of the Year finalist in 2017, also a 2018 Baseball Article of the Year for the Fantasy Sports Writers Association. He's on Twitter at Michael F. Florio. Michael, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for talking me up a little bit there. You make me sound probably better than I am.
Of course, man. No, you did it, dude. This is your resume, and I've got to ask you, okay? So football, baseball, and we're recording this episode a little bit later than we usually do, like a lot a bit later. This is beyond Tag's bedtime. Yeah. So everyone listening to the show knows we're going to get Feisty Mikey. We always call him Tags, but today he's not. Feisty Mikey, and I'm going to put you on the spot, okay, Mike? Not Mike Tagliere, Mike Florio. Is Michael Jordan the greatest basketball player of all time?
I know Tags is from Chicago. I don't think he's going to like my answer. Living in LA now, I am a LeBron guy. I think LeBron is the greatest of all time.
We are so done with this conversation. You guys are two.
Eat it, Tags. Eat it.
Hold on. So I'm talking to two baseball guys and two LeBron guys. What could go wrong in this show? It's already got off on the wrong foot. I hate you guys.
Oh, man, this is awesome. All right, guys, let's roll, okay? We're going to be talking running backs first, and as I said, these are the guys that are kind of on the fringe. Like, we're not getting any questions. Hey, should I start Aaron Jones? Even against Chicago, of course, he's a lock start. I'm going to be referring to something called ECR. If you've listened to the show all year, you probably know what this means, but there's probably some newbies who need this explained. So, it's the expert consensus rankings. We've got 130, 140 analysts around the industry who send in their rankings every single week for our accuracy contest. So we can grade the analysts and then tell you guys, hey, these guys have been the most accurate. This is who you should be listening to. And we mash it all together for a consensus industry ranking of all the players. Now, this is going to change throughout the week as we get more information, but as of today's show, I'm going to be going off of it. You can follow along at fantasypros.com/rankings, and we'll start at the running back position. Joe Mixon has been fantastic lately. It's really not the offensive line. He's just playing great football, but he gets the Patriots this week. Mike, and when I say Mike, I'm going to be referring to Florio. I'll call Tags. We won't call him Feisty Mikey the whole time. So Florio, is Joe Mixon startable against the Patriots, and where do you have him ranked?
I think he is startable, but he's one of these guys that you may be able to have be debating between Joe Mixon and another one of these players. So, I have Miles Sanders ahead of him, and I think it's very possible that there could be someone out there who has both of these guys and is debating which one to play as their RB2. I have Mixon as my RB18 this week. He's one of those hard ones to rank because it's a really, really tough matchup, and with Andy Dalton, the Bengals have been passing a lot more, but he has been seeing a lot more volume. He's been a lot better as of late, so he's kind of one of these difficult to rank guys, but to me, he's in that low-end RB2 range where if you may have a couple other guys that you're debating between, but it's probably Joe Mixon.
That makes a lot of sense. Tag, since the bye, 32 touches, 16, 18, 23, 26 last week. And as we know with the Bengals, they've been trailing in the majority of these games. So even if they're trailing against New England, this is New England's weak spot, right?
If you want to nitpick, yeah, you can.
There's no such thing as a weak spot, but it's their weakest spot.
Right. The good thing about Mixon is that he has run 37 routes over the last two games, and that ranks 17th among running backs. So at least he's being used in that aspect because he wasn't with Ryan Finley under center. And with the injuries to Auden Tate, obviously AJ Green not playing, they're going to need to utilize him in the passing game a little bit. So I do think he's startable. I have him in that low-end RB2, high-end RB3 conversation. The issue is that there have been just 3 running backs all year who have finished top 20 against the Patriots, and 2 of those guys were on winning teams. Let's be clear about this. The Bengals are not winning this game. The only one who got there on the losing team was Ezekiel Elliott, and it took 25 touches to get there. They played in the rain that game, so there were a lot of factors going into it. Knowing that they've only allowed 1 rushing touchdown, it's a little worrisome. basically Joe Mixon is not going to carry you through to the next round. And I'm with Mike on this one, in that I would go Miles Sanders over someone like him, because you basically have to ask yourself, what's the floor of these players? And you might get a higher floor with Joe Mixon, but is it worth sacrificing a little bit of floor to gain the ceiling of someone like a Miles Sanders versus Washington? And I think the answer is yes.
So I'm going to give you guys a couple of the players ranked ahead of him in ECR, okay? Joe Mixon is at 18, right with you, Mike, okay? We've got Mark Ingram at 14 against the Jets. Austin Eckler faced Minnesota at home. Miles Sanders against Washington. That's who you guys have been talking up. He's 2 spots ahead of Mixon. And then Raheem Mostert faced Atlanta. Mike, we'll start with you. Are there any of these players that you would put behind Joe Mixon?
The only one I have behind Mixon right now, and I don't feel great about it, but it's Raheem Mostert.
Me too.
The Falcons, first, I know like they're a defense that you could pick on, but they haven't been particularly weak against the run this year. And with the 49ers, like I love Shanahan's system, and I think it's great if there's ever one back that is featured, but Mostert saw a decrease in his volume last week. I understand like he still led their team with 12 touches, but he had 21 the week before, and Breida was back and involved, and we don't know. I don't feel confident saying that Tevin Coleman is just completely gone from this picture. So because there is concerns of the usage there, he's the only one of those guys you named that I have behind Joe Mixon.
So Mostert's ECR 17. I've got him all the way down at 21 just because, with Coleman and Breida, who's to say he doesn't get just 12 touches against Atlanta, who's been pretty good lately, like Mike said. Tags, what do you think? Where do you have Mostert ranked, and do you have anyone else below Mixon?
Yeah, I have Mostert at 28. I have Mixon down at 25, so I'm not like high on Mixon or anything like that. This is about like the 49ers and the fact that they're becoming a more balanced team in terms of how they're attacking their opponents. And honestly, with the defense, the shape it's in, this game could turn out to be a shootout. And I know that a lot of people are like putting down the Falcons this week and saying that Julio Jones is going to struggle and this and that. I don't think so. I mean, if you guys have looked at, like, I literally, the primer will be out tomorrow morning, and well, as soon as when you're listening to this, it's probably going to be out. But basically, it highlights all of the injuries that have taken place in the 49ers side of the ball. They're going to be without Richard Sherman, their best cornerback. They're going to be without Dee Ford. I don't know if I'd say he's their best edge rusher, but he's right there with Bosa. They're obviously without Quan Alexander. They might be without Jaquiski Tart. One of their defensive tackles, DJ Jones, he's highly questionable for this game. Kawan Williams, their nickel cornerback, he suffered a concussion last week. And we saw Drew Brees legitimately dice them up for 5 touchdowns. It's not to say that Matt Ryan's been a hot quarterback, but if this game turns into somewhat of a shootout, I mean, look at the last 4 games for the 49ers. The touch counts among the running backs, 24, 22, 28, 22. That is not nearly enough touches for a team that uses 3 running backs. You're basically hoping that Raheem Mostert gets to the 14 touch range, which I think it's more likely that
Atlanta, is that enough to make him an RB2?
I don't know if it is, honestly. Atlanta hasn't been like the worst run defense. Some people think that it's like such a terrible team. They haven't been the worst against the run. So yeah, I would rather take the guaranteed touches with Joe Mixon. I know it's a tougher matchup for Mixon, but I would rather take the guaranteed touches.
All right, Mike, we're going to start with you again. I've got 3 more running backs. You tell me which one you would prefer the most and where you've got these guys ranked. We've got David Montgomery at Green Bay. I would imagine they're playing from behind. Montgomery's been game script dependent. Devin Singletary at Pittsburgh, the number 1 fantasy DST. They've actually passed up the Patriots and 49ers. And then we've got the Pro Bowler, Le'Veon Bell, at Baltimore. So among Montgomery, Singletary, and Bell, Mike, who are you taking?
I'm going to take Montgomery in half or standard. In full PPR, I'll go with Le'Veon Bell. Bell, I have a little bit of concerns. Well, first of all, the matchup is awful for him and Singletary. With the Steelers since week 4 when they got Fitzpatrick, their defense has just completely changed. And even against the run in that span, they're allowing the second fewest fantasy points per game to running backs. And David Montgomery has the best matchup of the 3, and my fear too is that he will get game scripted out, but hopefully early on, and hopefully the Bears could keep the game close for a little bit so he could still get that volume early in the game. But Le'Veon Bell with the illness last week, and to me the Jets just haven't been anything special. It's a short week. The Ravens defense is super scary. I would think I would chase David Montgomery. He's like, to me, the perfect safe with a little bit of upside, whereas Bell, I think, has the highest ceiling, and Singletary, I just really want no part of this week.
Yeah, I don't love the matchup against Pittsburgh, and it's not like Green Bay is difficult to run against either. So, Tags, I'm curious where you've got these 3. They're all in the order that I named. Montgomery, Singletary, Bell. That's where I've got them ranked. I'm right along with ECR on all three. Do you have a favorite of the bunch?
I have Montgomery the highest. I have it Montgomery, Bell, and then Singletary's down a little bit further out because Singletary, by the way, doesn't even get goal line carries. They're still bringing in Frank Gore on carries inside the 5-yard line, which is a real problem. So it's like, when you're starting a player that's in a tough matchup, you're essentially looking for a touchdown, and I think that's what people are going to be relying on with Le'Veon Bell, maybe some work in the passing game. But the Steelers have been brutal, not just on the ground, through the air too. It's one of the worst matchups you could ask for. But David Montgomery, I don't think the Packers blow out the Bears. That's the thing. It's a divisional matchup. It's the second matchup between these two teams. I know it's in Green Bay, and I do expect Green Bay to win that game, but at the same time, the Packers, they just don't blow out the Bears. That just doesn't happen.
You're right. It's always close.
Yeah, I witnessed these games, and David Montgomery is one of those guys that gets all the goal line work. Tariq Cohen is out. It looks like Taylor Gabriel is probably not going to play again. He's still not practicing. They lost Trey Burton. They lost Adam Shaheen. They lost Ben Braunecker. So it's like these targets have to go somewhere, and he is involved in the passing game, so it's not like he's just going to be game scripted out. He's not like a Benny Snell type running back. So I'm going to go with Montgomery here. The matchup's the best. All of them are probably going to be in negative game scripts, but I think Montgomery has the best chance to score.
And can I just add one point to Tags' point on Devin Singletary? Not only do they bring, because he's 100% right, like they bring Frank Gore in all the time, but Josh Allen has more touches inside the 10 and inside the 5 this year than Devin Singletary does. So he's really, like, if Frank Gore can't punch it in, it's not going to Singletary, it's going to Josh Allen.
So he's kind of like Sony Michel in the Patriots office.
That's a bummer, man. Except Sony Michel's going to get like 3
Brandon
touches.
Bolden is Frank Gore, and Tom Brady is Josh Allen.
Like, why is Sony Michel ranked ECR 27? Like, I get it, he's playing the Cincinnati Bengals, but can we even guarantee he gets 5 touches this week?
I'm in, dude. I'm playing him.
You're not.
You're not. I'd play him over Mixon. I'm not even kidding.
No. Oh,
really?
Tags.
Hold on a second.
We need to fight.
I want you to sit down and imagine something right now. Like, imagine you're sitting down in front of your TV on Sunday, and believe me, I've gone back and forth on this. I could see the case for Mixon. He's a safer play, but you're watching that game. What do you see this game going as? Like, do you see this game like being a close knit game? Because if it is, yes, Sony Michel is going to be done. Like, he's not playing. But in games that they jump out in front and they're leading and they're, when they were favored by double-digit points, he was getting tons of carries. He just wasn't very effective.
Rex Burkhead.
But now that Isaiah Wynn's been back, he has been a little bit more effective. Last week was obviously a disaster, but I don't see any way this game script goes south, and I see no way that he doesn't get 15 touches in this game. And if you get 15 touches against the Bengals, you'd better do some scoring. I just like, this is one of those things where I see it playing out in my mind and be like, wait, why would I bet on a Bengals running back against the Patriots instead of taking the other end of that? Because the Patriots
he's going to get 5 times as many touches.
I think Sony is a trap this week. He's great matchup, but his snaps have been decreasing. He's played 31% of them since week 7, and in fact, the last 2 weeks he's been at less than 20. And the biggest thing for me is in the last month, he only has 1 touch inside the 10-yard line. So, like, we've seen Brandon Bolden come in and take those touchdowns. Sony Michel, I have him ranked as like a touchdown-dependent flex option.
Oh, you guys
I've got him outside my top 30 running backs. So, Tags, you've got him top 20.
No, I have him 25. I don't know. You guys are talking me into this where it's like maybe I should call him. And maybe
like the thing is, there's a 20% chance he goes for like 30 fantasy points this week, right? Yeah. And we would feel like major idiots, but I don't want to risk it.
For him to get 30, it would be like 20 touches for 20 yards and 4 touchdowns, right?
2 touchdowns. Yeah, no, okay. So here, let me give you a question then. So Sony, let's pretend someone is looking at their roster. They have Sony. They're frustrated with him like you guys are. Sony Michel or Kareem Hunt?
Oh, I have Kareem Hunt significantly higher.
Really?
Yeah. Kareem Hunt's getting almost as many snaps now as Nick Chubb. He's getting like 70% of the team snaps.
He's running the running back routes. He's 3 touchdowns to Chubb's 1, 2 since he's returned.
Yeah, his 5 games since then, and they've kind of eased him in too, right? 14 fantasy points, 12, 13, 18, 15. That's a consistent RB2. Sony Michel, let's look at his last 5 games, okay? 4.
Oh, don't
6,
do it.
9, 5,
all bad.
2.
He has not scored double-digit points yet since week 8.
Yeah, this is not great. I'm losing faith in Sony. I went into this saying I'm gonna like literally suck it up. I'm gonna play him, but maybe it's just better for like.
Dude, I made this mistake last week. Don't be that guy who plays Sony Michel in DFS, right?
Oh, I told you not to play him in cash, but I mean,
I didn't. I listened to you, man, and
good.
I'm telling you, if you need to make it to the championship, hopefully your team is good enough to.
One more hypothetical: Sony Michel or Carlos Hyde?
I would go Michel there.
Yeah.
I never want to play Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, I feel you there.
Carlos Hyde is at ECR 34, so the vast majority of the analysts out there agree with us. Now, I don't hate the Sony Michel play because there's a lot of upside. I can't see it over Mixon. Now, Tags, let's do 3 more. You're going to start us on this one, okay? We got James White at Cincinnati. We're going to skip Kareem Hunt because we already touched on him a little bit. We'll go Marlon Mack at the Saints. And then Kenyon Drake face Cleveland. These are difficult ones. White.
This is easy
Marlon
for
Mack,
me. It's
Kenyon
Mack.
Drake.
It's Mack, White, and then who's the last one?
Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, Mack, White, and Drake. That would be my order. Mack is the easy. I have him at 16.
I am significantly lower on Mac than you. Sorry.
So here's the thing. Bobby and I talk about this a lot, about how people continually underestimate the Saints. However, there is like a big however this week. Okay, so
yeah, there is.
Marcus Davenport out for the year. Okay, he's one of he's probably their best defensive end. Well, not their best, but one of. Solid against the run. Sheldon Rankins is the biggest one. Okay, their defensive tackle. It's rumored that he's out for the year. And if Sheldon Rankins is gone, here's the deal. There have been they played the first 3 weeks without Rankins, and then last week he only played 8 snaps. So I'm going to go ahead and include that game. In those games without Rankins, they've allowed 5.4 yards per carry with 2 rushing touchdowns. In the 9 games with him in the lineup, 2.9 yards per carry and 3 rushing touchdowns in 9 games. So it's like there's a massive difference here. I
like Mac for GPP this week. I've got him in my top 24. I've got James White a little bit higher though.
Well, and they're not increasing, so they haven't increased Nyheim Hines' workload at all. No matter what happens, if everybody on the field died, they would bring in people off the street to play over Nyheim Hines because he's just not getting any more than 8 touches per game. So
that's frustrating.
We have to look around this team and say there's a lot of plays against the Saints available, and where are they going? And Marlon Mack, it was a brutal matchup against Tampa Bay. I was so down on him last week, and everybody's like, oh, he has a dominant offensive line, he's going to be fine, and it turned out to be a bust. But against New Orleans, I don't think this is a scary defense right now. I think losing Rankins up front is the biggest one, and then losing Marcus Davenport that's another blow. So
yeah, Saints went from my NFC favorites to 4th.
Yeah, it really sucks, man, because that team was so built to win, and it was such a fun game to watch against the 49ers, but both teams were just really banged up by the end of that.
Yeah, so I've got James White a little bit higher than Marlon Mack. Kenyon Drake, he's top 30. You could play him, but I would definitely rather play both these guys. Let's do one more group, and then we'll play for guys that we might feel comfortable with outside of this group. We've got Devontae Freeman, but he gets the 49ers. We've got Adrian Peterson coming off the big game, but he gets the Eagles. And then a lot of people are high in Patrick Laird this week against the Giants. So, Mike, you're first this time. We've got Devontae Freeman, Sony Michel, Patrick Laird. Who are you taking?
I have Laird and Freeman back-to-back, with Freeman 1 spot higher at 26 and then Laird at 27. And I have AP down at 33. Okay. AP, I have the same fear. It's with Sony Michel and even guys like Marlon Mack. I just do not get excited for running backs who can easily get game scripted out and do not run routes, do not get targeted in the passing game. And Adrian Peterson is a poster boy of that, so I don't really love him, especially against the Eagles, who are very stout against the run. Laird, I think he has a higher ceiling than Devonta Freeman, but I think Freeman's workload, even in a tough matchup, it's super safe. If they get near the goal line, it's going to go to him. So I have
He's getting a lot of work in the passing game too.
Yeah, exactly, and I think this is going to be a game where they're going to be trailing, and he could see 5+ targets in this game. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
So, Tags, I've got Freeman at 25. Now, the other two guys, I was going to save this for the next section, but I'm just going to say it now. I think this is a Chris Thompson week. I'd rather play Chris Thompson than Adrian Peterson or Patrick Laird. He got a ton of work in the passing game. 8 targets, 7 receptions. Obviously, they're going to be playing from behind against Philadelphia, who stops the run really well. They're not as good against pass-catching running backs. I've got Chris Thompson in my top 30. I can't say the same about Peterson. What about you? What do you think about Chris Thompson and then these 3, Devonta Freeman, Adrian Peterson, Patrick Laird?
So I have Devonta Freeman at 22. I'm willing to play him. I've talked about the injuries in the 49ers. That defense is not the same. Legitimately, they're a shell of what they used to be. They're missing their top 3 players and maybe even more.
So you're saying the Vikings are winning the Super Bowl?
No, I don't even know. I can't believe that the Packers have the record that they have, because that team just doesn't look like a 10-win team right now. But
if their secondary would just get it together, their team would be
It's
awesome.
not going to happen. Kevin King would have done it already.
Yeah, but it was great at the start of the season.
Yeah. Well, the pressure was great. But anyway, I feel okay about Freeman. I have him at 22. Sony at 25, and then going down, I have Patrick Laird at 30. So he would be above Adrian Peterson for me. Laird kind of reminds me of last last week, right? Like he played against the Jets last week. It was a tough matchup. He gave you a solid floor. He's probably not going to score because they can't run the ball, and the Giants have been really tough on the ground ever since acquiring Leonard Williams. So I feel like you're going to get a floor performance out of him, and his floor actually goes up if Devontae Parker and Albert Wilson are held out of this game with those concussions, because those targets have to go somewhere. But the Jets and the Giants are actually right next to each other in terms of fantasy points per opportunity. So they're number 8 and number 9 in the league, so they're both really good. So I don't think it's like a high ceiling game, but if you need a floor, Laird can do that. Peterson, yeah. I'm kind of with you on Thompson in terms of like if you play in a PPR format, I could absolutely see Chris Thompson outscoring Peterson. But the problem is that AP is going to get touches. I have Peterson at 35. I have Thompson at 39. In half PPR, but if it were PPR, I would put Thompson probably slightly.
Do we know
over him.
He's getting touches? Because we've seen this situation. New England, 7 touches. Dallas.
Oh no, but that
touches.
was that was back under Gruden though. Like Bill Callahan don't mess around. He's like, unless we're losing by like 30 points, we're still running the ball.
Yeah, he had 11 touches with Callahan in week 11.
Yeah,
11 in week 12.
But that's what Geist though, right?
Since Callahan has taken over, even when trailing by 14 or more, the Redskins still run the ball 42%. Like he is just dedicated to running the ball. Score be damned.
Yes.
What a dork. What a big dork. Okay, outside of these guys, we're going to go outside of the top 28 ECR. Is there anybody that you feel comfortable starting? Tags, we'll start with you.
I don't necessarily feel terrible about Tariq Cohen. I mean, he's not exciting. I mean, James White's outside the top 28. I guess I should have said him, but I don't know why he's.
I think you must be looking at standard, man. I'm looking at half.
Maybe that's what popped up. It is actually what popped up. It was under standard, but yeah, going down, looking at the names there. Yeah, Tariq Cohen is one of those guys. Chris Thompson, I would have mentioned. Yep. And depending, so I guess we should probably mention this because we don't know what's going on with Josh Jacobs right now.
Yeah.
I know that the MRI came back and that Ian Rappaport has said that it came back with good results and they're expecting to play they're expecting to return barring a setback. And I don't believe.
You mean like
this
a broken shoulder?
Yeah, he fractured his shoulder.
That's
he was
a setback.
playing through it. Yeah, he was playing through it, and then it was like, oh my God, the pain's so bad last week that he can't play through it in a must-win game for them. Now it doesn't matter at all, and I don't really care what the MRI said. If he was in that much pain last week, how all of a sudden does he play now when you guys have absolutely
in a game that doesn't matter at all? He can't make the playoffs.
So if DeAndre Washington is somebody that I have ranked number 11 running back right now. Like
right, exactly. Yep.
If Josh Jacobs, I actually feel better about DeAndre Washington playing him this week than if Josh Jacobs were to play. I would rank Josh Jacobs lower than number 11 because I don't trust that situation.
That's interesting. Okay,
so Mike, real quick, what do you do? I had multiple people ask me this exact question. Let's pretend you have Le'Veon Bell, you have DeAndre Washington, and you have let's pick someone. Let's say it's Joe Mixon or someone in that range. Okay, would you play Le'Veon Bell and accept that you only have one spot, by the way? Would you play Le'Veon Bell and hope because you figure that Josh Jacobs is going to play? Or do you say, you know what? I'm going to wait it out just because I want to play DeAndre Washington if Josh Jacobs sits.
Yeah, I think if that's the scenario, a lot of it depends on who that third running back is and who you can pivot to if Josh Jacobs does end up suiting up. But I'm with you, Tags. I have Washington higher. When I thought, that he was definitely going to be the guy this week and Jacobs might not play, I had him way higher than Le'Veon Bell. He was almost an RB1, just outside my top 12, and I do not have Josh Jacobs as that. If he was to play, he's going to probably be barely in my top 20 because we're going to see, I think, still some Washington. I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to get his normal workload, but I'm not fully sold that he doesn't play this week because I understand that the Raiders season is on the line. Like, they need to start winning quick if they're actually going to try to make the playoffs this year.
Are they eliminated? I thought they were are they not mathematically eliminated? Because if they're not, then I guess I can understand it, but I thought they were eliminated.
They might have been. I'd have to check on that again.
They're 6-7. We've got the Titans at 8-5, the Steelers at 8-5, the Bills at 9-4. So I guess it's possible.
All right, yeah. So I thought
their point differential is minus 108. What?
Oh, they have an 8% chance. I just found it. It's an 8. So they do have a slight chance, I guess. Okay. Yeah.
Wow, this team is terrible.
Oh, wait.
Minus 108.
So this is updated. Hold on. The Oakland Raiders lost to the Tennessee Titans on Sunday, dropping their chances of making the playoffs to 1% from 7%. They have a 1% chance of they're not making the playoffs.
I don't think they are making it at all, but I think if anyone is out there believing that they can make that 1%, it is John Gruden.
Screw our draft picks, guys. We're a Super Bowl winning franchise. Come on.
Okay, so Mike, do you have anybody outside the top 28-ish running backs that you would feel comfortable playing?
Well, DeAndre Washington, I think, is the big one, but I think one spot below him, it's not sexy by any stretch, but Ronald Jones, last week he did see 15 touches. I understand Peyton Barber had more snaps than him, but if there's ever a game
This is a good call.
where the Bucks are going to be playing from ahead, it is this week. Jameis Winston is dealing with a hand injury. He practiced today without throwing a football. I don't know what that means, but if they're ever going to be playing ahead and just running the ball, I think it's this week.
Man, this could be a big Ronald Jones week. Yeah, he's a good call. I'm going to move him up my rankings right now, and that's why we have these discussions, is so we can build the best rankings for the week. I'm glad we're talking to you today, Mike. Let's move on to the wide receiver position. Let's see here. Probably should have done this before making the transition because. Okay, here we go. Tyler Lockett, what do we do with him this week, Tags?
Play him. I have him at number 11, so don't even ask me about him. Like, Mike, am I crazy?
I think a little bit. I mean, I still have him as a wide receiver, like 2 borderline-ish. I have him. Actually, no, he's a wide receiver 3 for me. Pulling it up now. I have him at 32 this week. I'm curious. I understand the slot has been the weakness in the Patriots' passing defense, but I still don't love him.
This is amazing. Okay, so I'm here on fantasypros.com/rankings, and it says, the ECR is 24 on Tyler Lockett. The highest ranked expert, the highest any expert has him ranked is number 11, Tags.
Oh,
the lowest anyone has him ranked is number 32. Mike, you guys get to battle it out here.
Wow, that's crazy. What are the odds? I mean, obviously Lockett's been a disappointment. I was down on him last week. I didn't like the matchup against the Rams. Nickel Roby Coleman is one of the better slot cornerbacks in the game, so I didn't expect a big performance. Obviously, if you go back a couple weeks to San Francisco is when he got hurt. You go to the game against the Vikings, and he was dealing with the flu. He was dealing with the leg thing. So there's a lot of things going on, but he's playing a full complement of snaps, and this is kind of who Tyler Lockett is, and you kind of have to play the matchups. Russell Wilson's coming off a game where he threw 0 touchdowns. Do we see that happening again? We know that DK Metcalf is probably going to see James Bradbury for much of the game, and Lockett is someone that they need to get going. If they're going to go into the playoffs, they need other receivers. That's why they went out and got Josh Gordon, because they felt they didn't have enough receivers. They need Tyler Lockett going, and this is a matchup to do it. Ross Cockrell is the guy playing the slot for them with Bradbury and Dante Jackson on the perimeter. And Cockrell, he's actually not a bad NFL cornerback, but he's not a slot guy. Okay, there's certain cornerbacks that can play the slot. They're twitchy. They don't have to use the sideline to their advantage. Cockrell's not one of those guys. He's allowed 16 to 23 passing while covering the slot with a touchdown in his coverage. I just don't see Lockett. It's almost like if you want to project Russell Wilson for a good game, you have to find where that production is going to go. And I have DK Metcalf is a low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3. So I think Metcalf's fine, but the matchup is better for Lockett. And it's like, Russ is a smart dude, and if we're not getting snaps out of Josh Gordon, we just lost Rashad Penny. That obviously clears up some targets. Chris Carson hasn't been targeted as much in the running game. It's almost like doing the projections, right? And you have to project this out and say, where is this production going? Because I do have Russell Wilson as my number 2 quarterback this week. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, I know I'm taking a chance by putting him at 11, but I'm putting him over guys like Odell Beckham. I'm putting him over guys like Cortland Sutton, who's in a tough matchup against Kansas City. Cooper Kupp, who played 19 snaps last week. Robert Woods, a guy that, yes, he's come on over the last 2 weeks, but Dallas is a brutal matchup on the perimeter. So it's like I'm thinking about these other guys. Now, I don't want to sit here and pretend that those guys come with 0 risk either.
I mean, that's fair. My issue with Tyler Lockett is how many passes is Russell Wilson actually going to throw? This is going to be an absolute blowout. He had 20 pass attempts against Cincinnati. He had 20 pass attempts against Atlanta. Mm-hmm. He had 25 against the Eagles, 23 against the Rams. Are we going to see 25 pass attempts? And if we do, Mike, is Tyler Lockett going to get 4 or 5 targets?
Yeah, I have Tyler Lockett as a high-end RB wide receiver 3 this week. He's in my wide receiver 26, and it's the same concern that you have. How much are they going to throw? I think we're going to see a ton of Chris Carson this week. The Panthers are allowing 120 rushing yards per game to running backs, and in fact, they're allowing more touchdowns not only than any team, since in any touchdowns per game, the most since the 1986 Bucks to running backs.
Chris Carson's my RB1. I'm playing him over Christian McCaffrey if I had the choice.
He is my
What?
RB2 behind only Christian McCaffrey. I think
Yeah,
we're going to
I'm with
see
you on that.
25 touches.
Yeah, he's an elite play, but I would not play him over McCaffrey.
All right, let's
I
move
don't know.
on to the
I
next
don't think
one.
anybody's making that decision.
Just dead
outside of
silence
DFS.
there. That's my fault, everyone. Okay, so A.J. Brown, is he a must start at this point? We've got him at ECR 18 this week, Tags, and I'm going to throw in a couple others in this territory. Emmanuel Sanders, ECR 21 against Atlanta, and let's go Odell Beckham at Arizona. So A.J. Brown, Odell Beckham, Emmanuel Sanders, 18, 19, 21 in ECR.
I mean, Beckham's my play. I'm going to go with.
Me too. Yeah.
AJ Brown, okay. I thought I was going to be like too high on him at 32.
I've got him outside my top 30, man.
I have him at 32.
Yeah.
I thought I was actually going to be higher than the consensus, but seeing him, you said 18?
18, dude. Yeah. He's averaging 5 targets in the last month.
That's my issue, is that there's like a lot of 4-target games in there mixed in, and
I mean, he's just a few weeks removed from 1 reception, 17 receiving yards. Even 2 weeks ago, 3 for 45.
I don't get this one. I mean, Mike, maybe you can shed some light on this. Like, are you playing AJ Brown as a wide receiver too?
I have him ranked as a low-end RB2 because I think he still has that ceiling, but I'm with you guys. I think you guys are actually talking me into lowering him because a lot of the points you guys have brought up is what I've been thinking. Actually, I even told someone like a little while ago at work, I was like, hey, I would sit A.J. Brown this week out of his options. The Texans secondary has been playing a lot better the last month, and then you guys hit the nail on the head, though, but look at A.J. Brown's routes the last month. Even, with 2 blow-up games in there, 21, 15, 27, 23. His high targets in that stretch is 7. He has multiple games with less than 5 in the last month. Like, A.J. Brown has that explosiveness, and Ryan Tannehill is playing great ball right now. And
Yeah, but he hasn't thrown the ball more than 27 times in the last month.
Exactly. This efficiency cannot sustain, in my opinion. So I think we're going to, and again, they're going to rely on Derrick Henry a bunch, the Texans secondary playing a lot better. You guys are talking me into definitely lowering A.J. Brown.
So are you
Bobby,
going
I've
Odell
done this.
Beckham at Arizona or Emmanuel Sanders face Atlanta?
If you cannot play Odell Beckham this week, why is he still on your roster?
Right, yeah. Yeah, he's in my top 15. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I have him at 14. But AJ Brown. So if you were to take, we can all agree that he's played phenomenal with Ryan Tannehill, right? Like best case scenario, if you can get that going forward, you'd be pretty happy.
He's really efficient.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
in
not reliable though.
Yeah, in those 7 games, he's averaged 14.4 PPR points per game. That would rank 26th among wide receivers. Why the hell is he ranked as the 18th wide receiver, guys? Like, I don't know what happened here. And Mike's right. Gary and Conley, when he went there at the trade deadline from the Raiders, I told people I like that trade for Houston, and they have been better. Jonathan Joseph and Gary and Conley are solid perimeter cornerbacks. They're not like studs, but they're solid. I know, obviously, Houston last week, that was just that could have been like, let's just take Drew Lock for granted and that we're going to stomp him at home. It could have been one of those games, but I don't take this as me like disliking AJ Brown as a receiver. I do like him, and I thought I was going to have him higher than the consensus because I'm done betting against regression for him. But he's a guy that's just continually getting it done after the catch, where it's not based on volume, and that's usually what we're chasing at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, and the Texans since week 10, fewest fantasy points allowed to wide receivers.
There you go.
Interesting. All right, guys, let's go to the next group of 3. I've got Michael Gallup face the Rams. We'll go with let's see here, Christian Kirk face Cleveland, and John Brown against Pittsburgh. So Gallup, Kirk, and Brown. Mike, you get to go first on this one.
To me, John Brown is the easy sit of the 3. I have the other 2 very close. I have Christian Kirk at 20 and Gallup at 22. I think Kirk, I think the Cardinals are going to be chasing points this week, which he is their top target. We know his floor is very safe. I think Michael Gallup is a little bit more, the floor is a little bit lower. He does have just as high of a ceiling, but when I'm deciding between 2 guys with a similar ceiling, I like to play the guy with the safer floor. I believe that's Christian Kirk. And for John Brown, I mean, we saw it last week. He got completely bottled up, and I think it's going to be another tough go for the Bills offense this week. The Steelers, I mean, since they've gotten Fitzpatrick, their defense has just completely turned around. They've been tough against every single position. So I think John Brown, we saw him score his fewest points last week. He, to me, is an easy sit. He's not even a top 30 wide receiver for me.
What do you think,
I've been
Tex?
struggling with John Brown, like when I was going through the primer and writing it up, and it's almost like you don't want to doubt him because he had a down game last week, and it was a really tough
Down game
matchup.
the last 3 weeks, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't had over 40 receiving yards in 3 weeks.
Yeah, no, and it was and this is going back, and I'm not like trying to give myself a pat on the back here, but at the same time, I did say that John Brown had like the worst playoff schedule, and that you should trade him while his value is high, and like these games have happened, and his value is diminished, but he's still the guy getting quite a bit of targets, so I don't want to totally forget about him. Christian Kirk has been inefficient with Kyler Murray. His matchup this week, I would like him a lot more if he was still playing in the slot, but he's not. For whatever reason, they decided to play him perimeter only over the last month, and that makes it a tougher matchup because he's going to see a lot of Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams, where the matchup in the slot is actually better. So I'm hoping they kind of move him back there, because if he does move there, he will eat up Cleveland, and that could be a good matchup. So he might be the one that I would go with, just at the hopes that Kingsbury does that. But Gallup's the last one in this for me, because so many people are asking me about Gallup this week and saying, why do you have him ranked so low? You know, doesn't Amari
targets,
Cooper
man.
get the Jalen Ramsey shadow treatment? And I don't know if the Rams, first off, I don't know if the Rams do that, because that's the best part about having a Michael Gallup on your team, is that you force teams to make that decision, right? Tre'Davious White, people were worried about that. They didn't shadow Amari Cooper because Michael Gallup's a real threat. And on top of that, Troy Hill has been playing very, very good for the Rams. So even if Amari is shadowed by Jalen Ramsey, Gallup's matchup with Troy Hill is not great. And Amari can beat Jalen Ramsey. I'm sorry, like Jalen Ramsey is a good physical cornerback, but he can be beat by route runners. We saw it. We saw Sammy Watkins beat him in week 1. If you look at DeAndre Hopkins against him in his career, he's done just fine. Amari at home has been really good. And Jalen, ever since he's gone to the Rams, he hasn't been like a lockdown cornerback. Like he's allowed, I want to say like a 70% catch rate in his coverage since going there. So Gallup, I'm a little bit more worried about. I don't think that game's going to be a very high-scoring affair. I think that's going to be a struggle for both teams. I don't have faith in Jared Goff and what he does. So, yeah, Gallup I have at 29. I'm not really high on him this week.
Let's keep going. We've got 2 more groups of wide receivers. I'm going to pull out Terry McLaurin. He made that spectacular catch, but he's got Dwayne Haskins as his quarterback. He gets Philly. I'm going to go Deebo Samuel face Atlanta and Sterling Shepard against Miami. So McLaurin, Shepard, Samuel. Mike, you get to go first on this one as well.
I have Deebo the highest of the bunch. Again, the Falcons, their defense, you can exploit them. I think they get a little bit overrated as how great of a matchup they are. But Sterling Shepard, he's going to be on the outside. We're going to probably see Eli Manning again with Golden Tate in the slot. Is Evan Ingram going to suit up? If he does, that's a lot of mouths to feed. Darius Slayton, clearly is emerging and getting more and more volume, seeing a larger target share there. So I think Deebo is just the safest play of this bunch. Although I will say Terry McLaurin, I think, easily has the highest ceiling. We saw what Slayton did against those Philly cornerbacks last week, that secondary. He was just taking the top off that defense. And I think the Redskins will be smart to watch that game tape and be like, all right, Terry McLaurin, you see what Darius Slayton just did? You go out and you do that again. Run those exact same routes, and hopefully Dwayne Haskins can hit him in stride, because he is one of the most explosive options and I think has one of the highest ceilings this week. But with Haskins, that floor is, like 4 or 5 points.
Right. Yeah. I feel a little bit safer playing Sterling Shepard than Deebo Samuel. He's my start this week. I've got McLaurin number 2. All these guys are in my top 30. I feel comfortable with them. But Tags, who do you have?
I have Samuel as well. Shepard's the lowest for me. It seems like we're slowly seeing Darius Slayton getting into an equal role with Shepard, where it's not even
good freaking reason, dude.
Yeah, he's looked really good, and I mean, it's not. I thought like with Eli Manning coming back under center, we might see Sterling Shepard kind of be like the alpha dog there, and it didn't happen. We saw it's almost like a Mario Manningham situation with Darius Slayton. But Deebo Samuel, Bobby, he's been the wide receiver 11 since the start of Week 10. So like I'm not going to doubt him against a Falcons secondary, and I felt like I probably should put him higher. I have him at 26, and I feel like I should be raising him even higher than that. McLaurin I have at 28. Great matchup. Like we've seen, Ronald Darby is not very good. Jalen Mills not very good. Like both those cornerbacks in the perimeter are terrible. So they're not going to be able to run the ball against Philadelphia. It's so tough with McLaurin because he can beat those guys like all day long. But the question is, can Haskins get him the ball? And that's why he's down as far as he is, because if he had a competent quarterback, McLaurin would be in the top 15 wide receivers this week.
Did you ever think you'd miss Case Keenum this much?
Oh, I did. I knew it. Once he left the lineup, I was like, he's a competent player. We've seen him support Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, honestly, even more than Kirk Cousins has with both of those receivers.
Yeah, I think that was a good call, Tags. It's a big downgrade. I said 2 more. Let's do 2 more from here. I've got Mike Williams facing Minnesota, Tyler Boyd against the Patriots, and then D.D. Westbrook with DJ Chark out. He's by far my number 1 in this group. I've got him almost in my top 20. I've got him at number 23, guys.
Wait, who is it? Conley?
D.D. Westbrook.
Oh, D.D. Oakland's been
Tags,
better.
why don't you go first, buddy?
Oakland's been better against the slot lately. I don't know how I feel about that one with Westbrook. He's also on the injury report, I want to say. He popped up and I don't know if
he's been on the injury report for a month.
Well, yeah. Well, and he's also not been good for a month. So that's a problem. Who are the other options besides Westbrook?
It doesn't matter because I'm so excited about Westbrook. Mike Williams and Tyler Boyd.
Oh, Mike Williams. I'm all over Mike Williams this week. So
remember when I tried to get you to play him last week, and he went for 14 fantasy points, but on 2 receptions.
He had 3 targets. My process was right. Don't give me your crap. Anyways, the Vikings. So this is the stat I've said before. The average wide receiver 3 performance last year, so to finish as a top 36 wide receiver last year, required 11.7 PPR points. Okay. The Vikings have allowed 21 wide receivers to hit that number this year. That is the most in the NFL. That's more than the Bucs. That's more than the Cardinals. 18 of those 21 have gone to primary perimeter wide receivers, which is obviously what Mike Williams is. Keenan Allen does basically half and half is what he's doing right now. Yeah. Mike Williams can smash. I have him at 22.
Interesting. All right, Mike, do you agree? Is it Mike Williams? Is it D.D. Westbrook? Or are you going to Tyler Boyd?
I'm going to go with D.D. Westbrook. I do agree Mike Williams has the highest ceiling here, but he could very well get 3 targets again.
For sure.
It's not uncommon. In 3 of his last 5 games, he has 3 targets. I don't know if 3 is his favorite number or something.
If he gets 3 targets and Westbrook gets 7, who's getting more yards?
Depends how many Williams catches. Williams will have more air yards, guaranteed.
100%.
I think D.D., though, gets a boost with Chark out, obviously, if he sits. Chark has been the number 1 target of Gardner Minshew this year, but D.D. is right behind him at 2. So now if you take one of those guys out, you have to expect a natural bump there. And Tags is right. The Raiders have been better against the slot. They're actually the second best team against it in the last month. But I still think the added volume there, I'll go with D.D. Just the safer play. I think, though, Mike Williams easily has the highest ceiling of the 3.
Can I say that Chris Conley is a better play than D.D. Westbrook?
You can, but...
I'll be wrong. Is that right?
I don't know, man. I like Keelan Cole a little bit better than Chris Conley this week.
What? I mean, he's been playing behind Conley all year.
Yeah,
Keelan
Cole's the better football player than Chris Conley.
I mean, I might agree with you there, but I don't know if the
fan.
Jaguars agree.
This is coming from the Jags fan. When he's on the field, Keelan Cole.
All right. Bobby.
Looks like a good football. It's like when I was excited about Darius Slayton, remember? And I was like, guys, get him on the freaking field. And then he was awesome. That's Keelan Cole, guys.
Isn't Cole the Jaguars Mike Williams?
Why not Danny Amendola over D.D. Westbrook?
Danny Amendola?
I don't have him over D.D., but I like Danny Amendola this week, and I don't think he's getting enough love.
ECR 59, guys.
I'm at 40. I'm at 40, and I'm debating moving him up even further.
Ooh, I have him even higher. I have him at... Oh, no, I have him 41.5, but in full PPR, he's inside my top 36.
Love it.
Last 6 weeks, 29 yards, 29 yards, 47, 21, 32, 34. I mean, I get Tampa Bay and everything.
Hold on, here's my stat, Bobby. There have been 18 wide receivers who have seen 7 or more targets against the Bucs. Every single one of those 18 wide receivers finished top 30. Okay, Danny Amendola has seen 8 targets in the last 2 weeks. In each of the last 2 weeks, Marvin Jones just went on IR. You can't run the ball against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you can't run the ball against them. There's no Marvin Jones. There's no Hawkinson anymore. And the Bucs are the best matchup a slot receiver can ask for. They've allowed the most fantasy points to slot receivers this year, after allowing the second most and primarily the most for most of last year. They got better the last couple weeks of the year, and the Jets surpassed them. But I write the slot report for NFL, and basically every week you can guarantee that whoever the slot receiver against the Bucs is featured in that article.
Hey, I want to ask Bobby.
Here's my stat. Let me ask you a question, Tex.
Yeah.
How many world records does Danny Amendola have? Does he have as many as me?
I mean, you don't actually have one, though, so...
Oh, man.
You still haven't done it, dude. I mean, I'll believe it when you get Guinness to go out to your house and, record that, but until then, you can't claim you have it. I don't see
not
it.
during, Christmas season. I've been eating Christmas
I
cookies
want to
and
be able
stuff.
to go to the store and show my son and be like, look it, Bobby, my co-host, he like legitimately owns a world record. Right now, I'd go and show him, and he'd be like, "I don't see Bobby's name there."
Next spring, man, it's going down. Okay, I mean, it was like electronically recorded and everything. Like I couldn't cheat the system. I beat Danny Amendola in the combine.
All right, I want to ask you guys one question because I know we got to move on. A player that I'm completely, I'm almost like giving it up to you guys and saying I'm going to rank him wherever you guys tell me to. I don't know what to do with Robbie Anderson. He has double-digit targets in back-to-back weeks. Demaryius Thomas is doubtful, probably not going to play. That frees up some targets. Bilal Powell's not going to play. He's already been ruled out. Ty Montgomery's questionable. So it's like we know Baltimore is probably going to win. We know they're going to control the clock. We know that the Jets aren't going to run a lot of plays. However, when they do run plays, I mean, where do you guys have Robbie Anderson?
I've got him right with ECR at 32.
I have him at 34, but I'll say this. When I was doing my rankings earlier today, I've moved him around so much. Like, he went from, like, 45 to anywhere in between 45 and 34, because I'm with you. Target share boost, great with no Griffin and Thomas. Worst matchup you can ask for.
Yeah, I'm at 34, so I'm glad we're in line. And I don't know what to do with him. Would you start, real quick, Marquise Brown or Robbie Anderson? Who do you start?
Robbie
That's
Anderson.
so close, man. That is so close. I've got Brown 2 spots lower.
But Brown could see 3 targets this week.
He could also get 300 yards with those 3 targets.
That's also very true.
That is very possible.
You know what, guys? Like, I understand we're running a little bit short on time, but like this is the semifinal week. We're going for bonus content here, all right, folks? So here we go. I want you guys to give me one more player outside the top 40 wide receivers besides Danny Amendola, who I actually agree is a very good play this week. Why don't you give me one more tags that you feel confident in?
Julio Jones.
In 2 or 3 if you have time. Who?
Julio Jones. Totally kidding. Totally.
Is he
kidding.
outside the top 40?
I was a joke.
I was like, what in the world?
Absolutely not. I mean, if he was, there would be a real problem.
Yeah.
Who can I go with here? Because there's a few different options. I think Isaiah Ford is very, very interesting. But there's
I'm going to go Allen Hurns. He's my guy.
Well, Hurns. So here's the caveat. So I have Hurns at 38 and I have Ford at 47. However, I would not be shocked if Ford is the better play because if Wilson is out and Parker is out, that means Allen Hurns is going to play the slot because Mac Hollins is perimeter only. Ford played perimeter when he came into the game. Okay, so it's like, oh, okay, that's good against the Giants, right? Not so fast. They moved Janoris Jenkins to the slot against the Eagles. I don't know if that's a 1 week sample or if it's just something that they're going to do moving forward. But it worked. I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, it worked pretty well. So I wouldn't be shocked. I actually think that both Hurns and Ford are good plays. I'm just torn on which one that I'm going to like more.
I already mentioned Keelan Cole, too. I want to throw in one more name that I like, ECR 67, Jacoby Myers. Over the last 3 weeks, he's been far and away number 2 on the Patriots in snaps. I think he's a good football player as well. He gets the Cincinnati Bengals. With all their wide receivers banged up going up against Cincinnati, I wonder how many snaps Sanu and Dorsett and Edelman actually play. I think Myers will be on the field quite a bit. So, Mike, do you have any other plays outside the top 40 wide receivers that you're fond of?
Hurns was going to be my original one.
Oh, sorry, man.
No, it's all good. That's a great point. But the Giants on the year and in the last month are 3rd in fantasy points allowed to slot receivers. So I think Hurns is I still like him this week. And my other one would be Russell Gage. I understand it's a tough matchup against the Niners, but they're going to be getting to Matt Ryan very, very quickly. I still think that Falcons O-line is in shambles, and I think because of that, he'll have to get the ball out of his hands a good amount, and with no Calvin Ridley now, with Russell Gage operating out of the slot, I think he could see, 7 to 10 targets.
I think that's a good one. That's one of the rankings. He's ECR 52 right now. I expect that to come up over the week as everyone starts adjusting their rankings a little bit more. Let's go to the quarterback position. The way we've been doing it lately, we're going to stick with this. We've got 6 obvious starts. Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson. I'm just reading them off in order of ECR. Drew Brees at number 3. Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston. You got one of these guys, you're playing them. Now we're going to go, Tags, I want 2 quarterbacks from you. Mike, I want 2 quarterbacks from you after Tags. And then I'm going to go with 2 after that we feel confident playing after these 6. Tags, who are your 2?
Well, I don't think Jameis is a must play by any means. Okay. He offers some upside for sure. I think that he's one of those guys. If you're willing to take some risk, he's absolutely worth it. But I don't think he's like a lock. I have him at 10, so I'm not like too low. But I would say Ryan Tannehill's absolutely one. I have him at number 6, and I would say Baker Mayfield. Those 2 I'm playing this.
Baker.
Yep.
ECR number 12. I have got him a lot lower because he's just not throwing many passes. Mike, how do you feel about Baker Mayfield, and where do you have him ranked?
Yeah, he was actually going to be one of the two guys I was just going to say. I have him as my
Really?
QB8 this
All right.
week. The Cardinals, since 2000, which is as far back as we can track at NFL, the Cardinals this year are allowing more fantasy points per game to quarterbacks than anyone ever has. Same thing with tight ends. Their defense is historically bad this year. And I think if you can't play Baker Mayfield this week, when are you ever going to play him? He's my QB8 for me.
Same.
Oh, man, guys.
So
All
I have
right. So where do you have Jameis Winston, Mike?
So I have Jameis as my QB6, but I don't feel great about it. And the hand, like, that's going to be one. And I even wrote it with my rankings in my article. Like, you're going to have to continue to check back this week because so much is up in the air right now that I think a lot is going to be changing. And Jameis is one of those players that can vastly drop if he's still not throwing a football. He was throwing a towel today.
Over under on combined touchdowns plus interceptions, 20.
He might actually lead the league in touchdowns and interceptions by the time it's all said and
And
done.
passing yards. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? All right, so Mike, why don't you give us two more names outside of Tannehill and Baker Mayfield that you feel confident in this week?
I think Jared Goff is a good play. The Rams, McVay, the last couple of weeks, they've reshuffled their O-line around a little bit, and the offense has looked completely different. Robert Woods operating a little bit more out of the slot as of late, too. He's been a force. Tyler Higbee, since he has filled in for Gerald Everett, that offense just looks like it's clicking. So I like him against the Cowboys. He's still in my top 12 this week. And Ryan Fitzpatrick against the Giants. I understand.
I was going to say him, yeah.
It's never pretty when it comes to Fitzpatrick, and you could be walking away from this. Like, he is the poor man's Jameis Winston, which I'm not saying.
You know what's pretty is 40 pass attempts. I don't care how it looks. Give me 40 pass attempts.
It's
and
not going to
7
be
carries.
pretty. He could throw a few interceptions, but yeah, he runs the ball. He's going to be throwing the ball a bunch. The Giants have a really weak secondary. They came out. I personally suffered a loss last week because of Carson Wentz's second half. They could not stop anyone, and the Eagles were throwing out guys from like the crowd to play wide receiver for them, and the Giants still could not stop them. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is a play this week.
So I'm going to name the top 4 that we haven't talked about. I'm not going to name any of these guys just because ECR is already making a statement. Jimmy Garoppolo, 8 against Atlanta. Yeah, he's a solid play. Dak Prescott, any week is a solid play, really, but he gets the Rams. It's a decent play, ECR 9. Kyler Murray at 10. This is where it starts to get iffy. I'd play some of my streamers ahead of him. Aaron Rodgers at 11. Guys, I've got him all the way down at 19 this week. Tags, do you agree? Like, is Aaron Rodgers startable?
Yeah, I am at 9. So
He's been outside the top 20 quarterbacks like way more often than he's been a QB1.
Yeah, no, it's true, and it's something I've pointed out. Yeah, the Bears are not the same defense they used to be, unfortunately. So Prince Amukamara is not going to play. That's one of their starting cornerbacks. Roquan Smith just went on IR. Danny Trevathan's not going to play. Akeem Hicks is dead. Like, the Bears defense is a shell of its former self, and Aaron Rodgers, the last 3 games that they've played in Green Bay against the Bears, he has thrown 10 touchdowns. So I'm not worried about the Bears anymore, honestly. Like, it is still a divisional game, and it's probably going to be close, but and Rodgers doesn't throw the ball a whole lot, and that's why we're all mad about Matt LaFleur taking over there, because it's just like you have one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and you're not utilizing him to the best of his ability. But at the same time, I mean, it's almost like one of those situations where I look at the other quarterbacks that I'm ranking behind him, and I'm like, okay, if you want to play Jameis Winston over Aaron Rodgers, I have no issue with that. It's something that I might change as the week goes on, just depending on Jameis's hand. But Carson Wentz against Washington, I mean, Tom Brady's been throwing like crap, so it's like we can't really love him. Jimmy Garoppolo,
Brady's the guy I was going to say. I'm playing him, man.
If Garoppolo has an off day throwing the ball, he offers nothing on the ground, so his fantasy floor is actually absolute crap. And we've seen that throughout the year. So all you Garoppolo supporters, you guys can tell me that, oh, you guys were talking bad about him earlier this year. Well, you should have been too, because he wasn't very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Garoppolo, he's a fine play. I'm not a big fan of Prescott. I don't like Goff though, Mike. I would try and talk you off that one. Goff basically is good against bad defenses, and he's terrible against good defenses. And I think that I'd say the Cowboys are an above average defense. They've been struggling as of late, just because they did lose their starting slot cornerback. They lost like Leighton Vander Esch has been out of the lineup.
He was great when we could rely on 68 pass attempts, right?
Right. I mean, but Goff has just been so. And the reason I think they changed things up last week, and why we saw Brandon Cooks play like 23 snaps and Kupp play so few, it was a divisional matchup. Like the Seahawks know them extremely well, and Goff has always played well against the Seahawks. And to be honest, the Seahawks are not a good defense this year in terms of their secondary. But
honestly, if you're building a franchise, would you rather have Jared Goff or Gardner Minshew? Real question.
It'd still be Goff for me. I think. Yeah.
I mean, we've seen what he can do behind a good offensive line. Mike, would you agree Jared Goff over Minshew?
Yeah. But with the caveat, does Sean McVay come with him?
Right, that's true.
No,
Offense,
no.
the coaching
No,
matters
it does
more
not.
than like a lot.
Yeah. I brought up Gardner Minshew because he's the last guy I would feel comfortable playing this week. Now, I would prefer streamers like Baker Mayfield, Ryan Fitzpatrick. If you can't get one of those guys, Jimmy Garoppolo, Ryan Tannehill, I think Gardner Minshew is going to be a solid, safe play this week. I mean, how many times have we seen him go up against decent defenses or bad defenses? And every single one of them, he's put up 16 to 25 fantasy points. That's who Gardner Minshew is against these defenses. Oakland's not a good defense. Minshew runs the ball as well. I get it, DJ Chark might be out, but Minshew is a safe, reliable option this week. I've got him at QB 15.
Yeah, I don't think he gets enough credit for the fantasy points he gives you with his legs.
Yep.
Yep.
That's why I'm at
Agree with
15. Solid floor.
All right, guys, tight end, obvious plays again. George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, Darren Waller, Hunter Henry. I would put Jack Doyle in that conversation now. Do you guys disagree with any of those before we keep going?
Nope.
Okay. Would you put Austin Hooper or Mark Andrews in that conversation, Mike?
I have Andrews at 8 and Hooper at 10. Just really don't love the matchup for Hooper. And with Andrews, I understand that, the Jets, they're not the scariest matchup in the world, but
Is Jamal Williams going to be back? Tags?
Is who?
Jamal Adams?
Jamal Williams. Jamal Adams?
I was like, Jamal. I'm like, do we go back to running backs? What happened?
No.
Jamal Adams is doubtful.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
he's
don't
doubtful.
think he's going to suit up.
And
either.
Mark Andrews is a little bit banged up, too. Like, if Adams is out, this is a better matchup.
Yes, it is. But he's also banged up. Like you said, it's a short week. I have concerns. Is he going to be limited? Is he going to be a decoy? And it's also possible he could take one hit and then, he has to go back to the sideline like last week. And Hayden Hurst, I mean, he filled in fine for Mark Andrews last week. So I wouldn't be surprised if that injury was starting to flare up a little bit and they decided to use him a little bit less. I would still more than likely be playing him. He's my tight end 8 this week. But I think, if you picked up by some chance like a Tyler Higbee, I actually have Higbee a spot higher.
We saw Jared Cook just terrorize the 49ers last week. I'm starting Hooper for sure. I've got him at tight end 6. Tags, am I crazy, man?
No, I have Hooper at 5. Yeah.
Man, you're crazy.
No, as I've mentioned, I mean, this 49ers defense is not going to look the same this week. Now, they are at home, and to be fair, I was looking at this going through, and they've been a really good team at home. And going back to last year, of the top 8 quarterback performances they allowed last year, that's like half the season. One of them was while in San Francisco. So they were much better as a home team, even when they weren't a very good defense. But at the same time, when you have as many injuries as they do, they might legitimately be missing half of their starting defense from the start of the year.
Yeah. All right. Here instead of giving 2, since we've already talked about 8 tight ends, why don't you give one player, Mike, one other tight end that you would feel comfortable starting
outside of the top 8?
Outside of those,
the
those
ones we
8 that
talked
we've
about
mentioned,
already.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Ian Thomas is an option this week. The Cardinals get all the attention for being, like I said, they've allowed more fantasy points to tight ends than anyone since 2000. But Seattle is second, and they're right behind the Cardinals. They have been burned by tight ends every week. And if Greg Olsen, I know he did participate in individual drills today, but if he doesn't suit up, I think Ian Thomas, especially since I'm with you guys. I'm expecting a lot of Seattle running the ball this week, which means they'll probably be playing from ahead. And Kyle Allen will do that thing, where he doesn't look great in the first half, and then he just comes out firing, and they have to throw every play because they're trailing. And that's going to lead to opportunities for Ian Thomas, who last week was lining up. Yeah, and he was lining up more in the slot and out wide than he was as a traditional tight end. So I like that.
Yeah.
My concern there is that Kyle Allen gets benched. They might bench him for Will Grier this week. I think people are calling for it, and it kind of makes sense to see what they have in Grier. But I don't know. I do like Thomas, but I wouldn't play him over Goddard or Jacob Hollister.
I have both of those guys higher as well.
Yeah. Goddard is ECR 11. Hollister is ECR 13. I think they're both solid starts. Higbee's ECR 7 and Jared Cook ECR 8. And that's assuming Jared Cook is healthy. I think that he is going to play. Now, Tags, who's your other guy you feel comfortable with?
Hold on, real quick. Jared Cook. So I want to make a disclaimer now. If you have Jared Cook on your roster, I don't know if I risk it unless he gets clearance before the Sunday games start, and it's very unlikely that happens. With concussions, it seems like most players are missing at least 1 week. That game's on Monday night, and there is no logical solutions available on the waiver wire. Jack Doyle's owned, and you don't want to start Josh Hill. So, I mean, if you're able to get one of these guys like that we've been talking about, O.J. Howard is someone that I would start over Jared Cook if I didn't have knowledge of what was going on with Jared Cook. I think O.J. Howard's a fantastic play, knowing
I knew you were going to say him, man.
Mike Evans is gone. I am done with the Bucs run game, that they're just not going to be able to run the ball. They don't. They might get 70 yards. That might be an accomplishment for them. But yeah, O.J. Howard with Darius Slay matching up with Chris Godwin, I still think he's going to get tons of targets and he's still a great play, but O.J. Howard is probably going to be the most open player in that secondary.
I've got him in my top 13, but Tags, can you guess who I've got higher? I'll give you a clue. It's somebody that I always want to start.
Mike Gesicki? Oh, Noah Fant.
That's a good one, too. I like Mike Gesicki, but yeah, it's Noah Fant. Noah Fant against Kansas City, who,
if he plays,
they've been great against wide receivers, but not as good against tight ends.
If he plays. That's the thing. Yep. So that he's banged up, too.
Yep, if he plays. Otherwise, Gesicki's a decent play. I mean, there's 17 tight ends I wouldn't mind playing. The other one's Kyle Rudolph. Actually, I think we mentioned everybody else, but yeah, Kyle Rudolph's number 17 for me.
I thought you meant there's 17 tight ends you'll play, and then there's Kyle Rudolph.
That would make more sense. I mean, he's been good with Thielen out of the lineup, though.
But Thielen, like, it's looking like he's going to return this week. So
is he? That's the thing, is I haven't heard anything about Thielen yet. Is he going to play?
I'll believe it when I see it, guys.
Yeah, I'm with you, and he hasn't played a full game since week 6. Like, he's tried to come back and left
like
early.
T.Y. Hilton, Evan Ingram, A.J. Green. Like, these guys are never going to play again. All right, we're going to close out the show by going DST. Obviously, you're starting Baltimore, New England, San Francisco, Pittsburgh. After that, Tags, give me 2 names that you like.
I mean, Philadelphia is absolute smash play. I have
Dwayne
3.
Haskins, yeah.
And I'd say the Chiefs are the other one that I would say. I have
Chiefs
them as
get Drew Lock, yeah.
Yeah, I love that
defense,
matchup,
dude.
Yeah, at home, the Chiefs, yeah.
All right, Mike, 2 more.
I think you could trust the Bucks this week. They get the Lions. I don't.
Yes, you can.
I mean, I fear no one outside of Kenny Golladay in that offense. So I would trust the Bucks this week. And did you say the Steelers were one that are too obvious?
Not too obvious, but they're at number 4. Yeah, I said them. They're already taken.
Okay, I have them at 5. I think they're still in play, even though I think some people might be scared seeing the Bills matchup. And then I think you could also play the Bills defense this week. Like, I think that is going to be a defensive game. I don't think they're going to see a lot of points scored at all. Devlin Hodges, throwing the ball 20 times a game doesn't scare me. The one concern, with Juju and Connor potentially back is obviously those guys are more talented than the guys they've been throwing out there. But even so, I think the Bills' defense has been playing really great as of late, and I would not fear Devlin Hodges.
Yeah, I've got the Bills at number 5. I don't understand why they're all the way down at ECR number 10. I'm going to mention a couple others that are ECR high. Seattle, number 6 against Carolina. Minnesota against the Chargers at 8. Saints at number 9 against Indianapolis. The Packers are at number 11 against the Bears. I wouldn't go there. I do like the Giants. They're ECR 16, but they get Miami this week. We know Ryan Fitzpatrick's throwing multiple interceptions, right? And then who gets Jameis Winston? It's Detroit. They're all the way down to ECR 18. I get it. They've been bad. But again, Jameis Winston, guys.
It's waiting 2 picks to happen.
Yeah.
Yes, it absolutely is. Anything else you guys want to add?
Not really, man. Outside of saying good luck. And by the way, and if you're listening to this and you're like bummed out, maybe you missed the playoffs in some of your leagues, make sure you guys tune into the DFS podcast tomorrow. DFS is, if you haven't played, it's a whole lot of fun. You should check it out.
Yeah, and we've got Justin McMahon coming on too. He's won close to $1 million, I'm pretty sure. So you guys are going to get some good insight on that one. Mike, it was a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you guys for having me. It was a lot of fun.
All right, and I've already got the outro recorded. So, actually, you know what? I haven't said the final part.
Oh.
And you know what? This is on video, so everyone is going to be watching this and be like, oh, Bobby's a big doofus. You guys are right. I am a big doofus. For Mike Florio and Mike Tagliere, I'm Bobby Sylvester. Thanks for listening and watching, and enjoy your football.
Thanks for tuning into the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Make sure to check out our featured videos as well. Also, make sure to click that red subscribe button to get notified when we post videos in the future.